All right, hockey fans, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Welcome to the second episode of the world famous, I'm not sure what world, it's famous in our world, the world famous Puck Blockers podcast. My buddy here. Now, you might not recognize him. You might not recognize. We were just talking about it off camera, and before we even get there to answer everybody else's questions, no, I'm not fixing to shave mine. But my good buddy Paul from the locker room, uh, let's just say he had to take one for the team, shall we say?
Oh man, I just yeah. So Captain Paul here from the locker room. Yeah, see, this sacrilegious act right here, the clean shavenness. That is because I had to take a firefighting class because I have a U.S. Coast Guard's license, and every licensed mariner has to take firefighting every 5 years to re-up and keep up with our training because we don't have fire departments. We rely on ourselves out there on the ocean. The problem with that, though, is you got to shave your beard. And I think that's bullshit. But it is what it is. I'm upset. And you know what? We'll get into hockey. I got a rant here. The damn instructor says after we do the pool training on Monday and all the recovery and the life raft stuff, he's like, "Oh no, you didn't have to shave." Like it's funny because there's a pretty much the whole class with guys full of beards and things like that. We all look like we're 12 again, and I'm like, we're all like, why wouldn't you say that? He's like, oh, I thought you guys knew. I'm like, oh my god. So he is on my shit list forever, but hopefully it should grow back in a week and a half.
Let's look at this from the bright side. Okay, maybe, just maybe. When's the last time you shaved your beard off?
Oh Jesus, like 5 years,
When's the last time Bruins didn't make the playoffs?
a year.
This year.
Yeah, this year.
Previous to that.
Oh God, like over a decade or so, or something like that.
Right.
Is it
So
long?
so maybe you just needed fresh facial hair. You shave it off, come back next year, new beard. Maybe your team makes
You
the
know what?
playoffs.
If we make the playoffs next year, it's because of me.
There
All
you
right.
go.
Like, hey, listen,
Yeah,
I'm all for that.
you
I'm
got
all
to
for
take
that.
credit.
Gotta take credit. It's all me. It's nobody
Yeah,
else. It's just me.
absolutely. So,
Uh,
people are asking me if I was going to shave it before growing the playoff beard. I'm like, I'll trim it. I've already trimmed it down a little bit,
yeah.
but Paul and I have the opposite problem because when you're as skinny as I am, you need the facial hair to make it look like you're not a crackhead. So there's that.
And when you're trying to lose weight and you're a fat slob like I am, you need it to make sure you don't look like a fucking joke. But that's
So speaking of jokes, so finally we have the playoffs set,
yep.
scheduled. Can't talk. You know what I'm trying to say. Panthers don't play till Tuesday, so I'm like in this whirlwind of what? What?
Yeah.
And so I was watching a little bit of your. I watched most of the whole thing of your preview
Yeah.
for the playoffs. And smart man, I'm going to let you give out your own takes and everything. I haven't given all of mine in terms of the Western Conference yet,
Right.
so I think I'll do that here because I had to think about it a little bit. I don't watch as much Western Conference as I would like to. But we're going to get a chance this year because the way that the schedule is laid out is an abomination, I shall say, from my own personal standpoint. And what I don't understand, and this is not a huge topic, I'm sure, but
Hmm.
I'm just used to the Panthers and Leafs assuming that if they're playing in separate um, series, that they'll be playing on separate nights because there is a lot of crossover there in terms of Canadian fans or
Right.
Leaf fans being in Florida, and game two, game three, uh, they're playing at the same time. Now,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So that's just my personal gripe. My gripe this morning is not as bad as yours. So I would be if I had to shave my beard. I don't think I'd be here this morning. I'd be off camera.
I was almost gonna demand a new contract. I was so upset. No, but no, I will say some of the scheduling is kind of weird when I've looked at it and some of the conflicts. And I understand the first round, there's going to be some more of that because there is so many teams playing.
Yeah.
But it would have been nice if they were like certain nights you could just kind of make it one or two games at different time slots. But you're not going to be able to placate everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think that's a justifiable gripe you have.
So I guess we'll just go down the series one by one. We won't start with the most obvious one because then people will just click off. So we'll talk about Washington and Montreal. So what do you have? What do you have for us there?
So with Washington and Montreal, it's an interesting series, right? You have two teams that completely exceeded our expectations. I mean, the Washington team was just like the Capitals were just a bubble team last year, right?
Yeah.
Like they just eked by, and then they got completely destroyed by the Rangers. And then you had the Montreal Canadiens, who I think had like a 2 to 3% probability chance to make the postseason before the year.
Right.
So you have both teams that, it wouldn't have been crazy to see the Capitals make the playoffs again, but nobody expected them to be the best team statistically there in the Eastern Conference. And then with the Canadiens, I mean, with how much youth they have, it's been really cool to see how far along some of their young players have come.
Yeah.
It's an interesting series. I do believe Washington just as of right now is the far better team. I mean, I don't want to I'll just say I picked the Capitals in 5.
Sure. Yeah. Ooh.
But I can acknowledge that with Demidov coming over, he's looked really good in his first 2 games at the NHL level, but he's still a rookie. I think it's a little crazy to expect a stupid amount of production from him, especially in the playoffs. And
Montreal already did that a couple of years ago with Caulfield, though. Remember?
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true. I mean, I think when it comes down to it, the Canadiens have such a bright future. I just think as of right now, the Washington Capitals are just right here in the moment. But I will say this: my one concern with the Capitals is after getting that record-breaking goal for Ovechkin and how that was that season was about the chase. Can there be an emotional letdown where they slip a bit? I mean, there is a possibility there, but I think with Logan Thompson and net, you have Ovechkin, Protas, you have PLD, who was a locker room cancer pretty much everywhere he's been, but he's been fantastic there in the Capitals, in the nation's capital. There's just so much talent. And John Carlson on the back end, they should be winning this series because I'm not too sure on the Habs' defense and goaltending.
Right. Yeah. So I put out my Washington Montreal video. Well, I think I combined the two teams in the Metro, and I got called out by somebody, and I'm interested in your opinion. So one of the things that I mentioned, now this first came to my thought process. I have the same thought process about you in terms of the chase and the energy and all of that. But now Ovechkin has 1 goal in the last 2 playoff times. In the last 2 playoffs, he's got 1 goal combined. And I watched a hockey psychology video, I believe it was him, and he was showing how Ovi was doing a lot of his damage sort of as the Capitals are entering the zone with speed. Ovi's just kind of hanging back and to the left over there by his circle, and teams are just, if you watch the highlights, I watched a highlight video yesterday of his first 20 goals this season. Yeah. The defense is ignoring him for the most part. A ton of his goals this year, he's just over there by himself. And I'm not just talking about on the power play. Yeah. So my theory was that I kind of cracked the joke that it kind of looked like teams were just letting him be alone because they wanted to help him get the record. But moreover, the point being is that that's not how defense works in the playoffs.
That's not a bad point to bring up. I do think Ovechkin, it's interesting because I understand what you're saying. That's why I think in some playoff series when teams play him appropriately, he's still a dangerous weapon. But if you kind of eliminate what he does, it's easier at this stage in his career. I will say I've seen a little bit more pep in his step in comparison to last year. Yeah. So I think the conditioning's a lot better. I mean, he's a lot better conditioned than I am for sure. But I think when it kind of comes down to it, that could be an argument for some offensive struggles for Ovechkin individually. I think overall, though, as a team, there's a lot more secondary help in comparison to last year.
And I agree there. Spoiler, I'm picking Montreal, but I agree there. But when I looked at Washington's stats and some of the deeper numbers, what I saw was the team that really reminded me of the President's Trophy team from the Panthers, where we were just blowing teams out, getting 5, 6, 7 goals a night, and you just couldn't stop us. And we barely squeaked by Washington. And then Tampa just showed us how to really play playoff hockey. And so I think the two parts, it's not just simply that Ovechkin won't be able to hide over to the left while Washington enters the zone with speed. Teams that enter the zone with speed notoriously in the playoffs are going to struggle if that's your calling card. So to me, I haven't seen Washington exhibit on a consistent basis that they're going to be able to grind it out 2-1, 3-2, and now the flip side to that, to Montreal, I'm picking Montreal because I've been cracking a joke for about 6 weeks that Montreal was going to get the 8th seed and beat the Caps. So I have to stick to that, right?
Stick to the bit.
I can't go back now. Right. I understand all the hockey reasons that Capitals should win this series. My question, honestly, is going to be Montembeault, right?
Yeah,
he's been kind of mid his whole career. And then after the Four Nations, he's been really, really good. I mean, I'm seeing him make saves that I've never seen this kid before. Flashing the leather, and he's been fantastic. If he doesn't crater under the pressure, and you've got some young guys there in Montreal, if Montreal hits it where they're not really feeling so much pressure, where they're just like, hey, man, we're here. This is great. You know what I mean? We have an opportunity to do something special. And the flip side to that is Washington's definitely going to know that this is one of, if not the last really good opportunity they'll have with Ovechkin to get them another cup.
Yeah.
And, do I think Washington can win it in 5, like you said? Sure. But I'm picking Montreal just to be a pain in the ass, and because I'd love to see it.
I mean, listen, I'll say this. Even as a Bruins fan, I think very highly of Montreal and their future. I've talked about that ad nauseum, that I think that they can be a very good team for a very long time. My concerns with them, I mean, they're 7-1-2 in their last 10, but they're the only team in the Eastern Conference playoffs with a negative goal differential with -20.
Right.
Their decor, I think, is young. I think they got some pieces there that have some promise. I mean, Lane Hudson, he has 60 plus points as a rookie on the back end. Like that's absurd. That's absurd. That doesn't happen. That's like what are we talking here? That's crazy.
Right.
But I think defensively, he's still a rookie. I think there's some players on their back end that can get exposed, and that's why I actually think, like, when you talk about the Canadiens taking away that aspect of the Capitals games, I actually think they might struggle with that still, because I don't think they have the defensive prowess just yet.
Right.
And they just need a little bit more time. But honestly, it would be really freaking cool to see the Canadiens go out there and have a big upset, because that just would be, and how huge would that be, right? You get Demidov. Let's say Demidov just goes off, right? He has a crazy start, and he helps propel like Suzuki and Caulfield and all the rest of the Habs to the second round. Nobody would expect that. Anybody. And then let's just say Toronto does win their series. We'll get into that, but like just Montreal-Toronto matchup in the next series, or Montreal, it would be pretty cool. It would be pretty cool.
So we'll get to Toronto and Ottawa now. In my series preview, I picked Toronto, but to me, the decider is going to be Stolarz. Stolarz has been scary good recently.
Yeah.
And when you just look at, I'm gonna blame Toronto winning their series on the Panthers. when you take the core of guys that Toronto already had, and now they got 3 Stanley Cup champions on that team. And I know Stolarz wasn't the guy in net, but he still saw what it took.
Yeah.
And Lorentz was on the ice, and OEL was on the ice, and that adds something. So, what do you think?
It's I picked Toronto as well. I think that it's gonna be an interesting series. Ottawa, like you say, Stolarz because he's had a phenomenal year. He only has 1 game of experience, and he came in relief in an Oilers game. So I'm not going to hold that against him really too much. But he has inexperience, so it could go either one or two ways there. Either A, the pressure gets so big that it bothers him and he struggles, or B, he's so blind and naive to the pressure that he just like locks in, like something similar to what we saw Aiden Hill did with the Golden Knights when he became the goaltender for that team when they won a cup.
We don't talk about that here. Aiden, who are you talking about?
I think it's going to be interesting in that regard. I would say though I have the same question marks though with the Senators with Olmark.
Right.
Olmark has won a Vezina, but in his career he has a 883 or like he has a sub 900 save percentage.
Yeah, it's not
he has not been successful in the playoffs. So is this accumulation of like some bad luck? I understand he got dinged up last year or the other year, and it just wasn't right when he was playing the playoffs. So yeah, okay, fine. But Olmark has struggled mightily in the playoffs statistically. So is he going to be able to be that guy? I think he has that in him, but he could be one of these goaltenders in that moment that it's just too big for him, right? You know, and I think this playoff push here, even if they lose, but if Olmark has to play well, I think if he doesn't, it puts into question his legacy. Like, yeah, he's one of these really good goalies, but then when you get to the playoffs, he turns into a shooter-tutor.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally agree there. So, yeah, I think we both pretty much feel like Toronto's going to win that series. I know Brady Tkachuk is going to have some motivation to consider getting to the second round against his brother.
Yeah.
But, you know, more I looked at it, it's like, I think Toronto, it sounds weird to say, but Toronto is now at the point where they can actually use their experience for them instead of against them. And plus, Ottawa is not Boston. So, and Toronto doesn't have to worry about playing Boston in the second round either. So.
No, but they might play Florida. So, I mean, it's, you know, it's a catch-all. And I would say this version of the Leafs on their decor is so much better.
Yeah.
It's, you know, like they brought in Brendan Carlo at the trade deadline. He's a steady enough defenseman. They have Tanev now. They brought in OEL. OEL's played great for them. It's night and day, and it's something they've desperately needed. But, you know, like you said, we've both talked about, Stolarz could be either the GOAT for them or the GOAT for them. You know, just go either way there.
So real quick before we get to the important series, Canes Devils. Which one of those teams is going to be?
Who cares, really?
I know.
I
feel the same way.
Some fans might get mad at me for saying that, but it doesn't really matter. Like either one of those teams, they win, they're going to lose in the next round. It's just such an God. I picked the Carolina Hurricanes. I think I picked them in 6. I think the main reason is because Jack Hughes, the glass cannon, he's hurt again. Right. So he's out for the season. I think that's going to impact the Devils offensively. Both goaltenders. I mean, like when you look at the goaltending too, with the Devils, I mean, they got Markstrom, who I think's underperformed, and they got Allen. Allen's been better statistically, but do either of those goalies inspire confidence? No. And then I would say the same thing about the Carolina Hurricanes. Kochetkov and Anderson both finished the season with sub 900 save percentages. So it's just the battle of the sieves. Like it's the battle of the shooter-tutors, the guys that can't stop pucks. So who's gonna like lit up more goals in this series? So it's, you know, the Devils have some players and the Canes have some players, but overall it's just they're just mid teams.
Yeah. And with Carolina especially, we're just Carolina, except for this season, is kind of like the Dallas Cowboys, where you're just like, yeah, they made the playoffs, but you know nothing's gonna happen. You know what I mean? And you know, they've got 3 straight Eastern Conference Finals where they've been swept. I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
you just wonder how long Brindamore has to keep them in that exact same spot where they're at. It's just like at some point, Panthers moved on from their coach after we
Yeah.
won the President's Trophy. You
Yeah.
know, so yeah, I wouldn't. Nobody cares is a little harsh because
Yeah.
we are going to have to stream a game or two of those teams because it'll be the only times that we can have.
I mean,
but but I
fair.
get it. I get it. I get it. I can't imagine anybody other than Carolina or Devils fans laying any money on either of those two teams to even win the conference, let alone the cup.
Well, and the funny part is the Devils was a team I picked going to the Eastern Conference Finals before the
Yeah.
season.
Yeah.
Like with healthy, because that's the most frustrating thing I'll say is that like watching the Devils, their lack of ability to stay healthy, and with all that potential they have there, they should be far better than they are. I mean, Markstrom has been up and down this year. It's a team that shouldn't be, in my opinion, mid. I mean, the Carolina Hurricanes, they're just. I mean, that franchise is cursed. I don't even care. It's cursed. I mean, they make dumb trades and they get like they traded for Rantanen and then they
Don't
had
get
to
me
trade
started.
Rantanen because he's like, I'm not staying in Carolina. I just think that team overall is cursed. I don't know.
It's the owner. I mean, we talked about this in the
It
last
is.
podcast. They did it with Gensel. They did it with Rantanen. Now that's
Yeah.
twice you've traded for guys that don't want to re-sign with you, that don't have term. And they tried. They had a deal to do it again with Marner, but Marner nixed it.
Yeah.
So it's like you want to talk about stupid is as stupid does.
Facts.
They just don't learn their lessons. So there's no empathy there. So
No.
all right, Battle of Florida. Um, if the series went 15 games, who would you pick? You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Yeah.
can we just play game 7? Like, why bother? Just play one game so that whoever advances is healthy.
Yeah.
Because if this goes 7, yay, we won the series. Do we have any healthy bodies left? I think it's going to be like that.
It's funny too because it's the Tampa Bay Lightning have quietly had a great year. I think that a lot of people have overlooked the Lightning because they're no longer in that quote unquote dynasty
Yeah.
window.
Yeah.
But the Lightning have had a fantastic year. I think they are the best team in the NHL when it comes to goal differential. Yeah, they're plus
Yeah.
75. Yeah, they've been they're the best team currently in the playoffs. The goal differential, they can play good defense. They can score. Kucherov at 121 points. He's a superstar level talent. Brighton Point, he's had a 40-goal season. And then when you look at it, I would say with Kachuk being hurt, I would say like the high end talent, I would give the edge offensively there to the Lightning.
Yeah.
I just it's interesting roster construction because they do have Bjorkstrand and they do have Paul who had 40 points and they can be competent third line guys. I think depth wise though, the Florida Panthers have better lines 1 through 4.
Right.
I think if you're going to get into that conversation of a top 6, you could argue that the Lightning have a little bit more lethal of a top 6.
Sure.
And a lot of that does kind of hinge on the fact with Kachuk. But, and then the defense, I would say the D-core of the Panthers, especially with Ekblad coming back from his PED special,
Yeah.
he'll be back and healthy. That, I think, Panthers have a better D-core. And then the goaltending, it's interesting because Bob, I think he's had an okay season, right? I think it's been pretty steady, but it's not been like otherworldly. Vasilevsky, I mean, he's looked like Vasilevsky of old. And, I believe in Bob having the ability to just lock in, and the same thing with Vasilevsky. Like, this is going to be a very hard-fought series. It's going 7. It's just, I don't see it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, couple of things. One thing I've been looking at as the season's been getting close to the end there about Bobrovsky and his save percentage. And what's interesting is on average, he's facing about, I believe the number was about 4 or 5 fewer shots per game.
Really?
And but he's still basically letting in the same number of goals. So what Florida has done, at least this year, is the chances that teams have been getting have been high quality chances.
Yeah.
So we've had some nights where, 2 goals on 15 shots, and you think, what the hell is the goalie doing? and then you watch the replays. Like, yeah, Bob had no chance on those. There's nobody saving that puck. But we've been better at limiting teams from like taking shots from the perimeter and getting deflections. Those shots have just either we've been better at defending it or teams just quit even bother to try. You know what I mean? They're not trying it. So I think that accounts a little bit for his save percentage decline. Now, Tkachuk, as far as we are hearing, is basically good to go from game one. Now, what does that mean? I don't know. He played game 4 against Vegas with a broken sternum. So what is good to go mean in Matthew Tkachuk terms, right?
His body part's still attached. That's
right. He's got 2 legs. He's got 2 attached legs. I can skate.
And that's why I love a guy like Tkachuk, man. He's a friggin' warrior. I do.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So my sense with that injury from the beginning, because they took so long to really kind of tell us what the plan was. My sense is that this is just complete conjecture on my part, but my feeling about it is that he was going to a few different doctors, getting second opinions on whether or not they thought he could heal it without surgery, because surgery probably ends his season.
Yeah.
So my feeling is they kind of looked at it and said, well, you've got 2.5 months, whatever it would be. Can you heal this without surgery? The answer was probably, yeah, but you might risk dinging it again and then having to have surgery in the offseason and missing a whole offseason of training. Yeah. That's complete conjecture on my part, but it kind of feels like that's what happened. So from that perspective, if he's right, now this is what I talked about in my series preview. The only question mark for the Panthers in the whole top 9, honestly, at this point, is Mackie Samoskevich. Rookie, he's played spectacularly. He's been everything that we could hope for and more. Defensively, extremely sound. A lot of nights, he's the guy, he's laying hits. He's very physical. So he fits what we do perfectly. However, Maurice has got him in the top 6. He's got him in. People are looking for Bennett, Tkachuk, Marchand, and I don't think that's what's fixing to happen. Yeah. It's going to be Bennett, Tkachuk, and Samoskevich. Yeah. At least that's the way it's going to start. And then Lundell will lose to Reinen and Marchand. So, because you want to limit Marchand's minutes just a little bit. And Samoskevich and Bennett have had incredible chemistry. And it was even better when Tkachuk before he got hurt. Right. So, now you have a rookie in that top 6 for Florida against somebody, however they put the top 6 together in Tampa. Samoskevich is going to be up against a vet. Yeah. Right? And so how he handles those responsibilities and stays structurally sound and the moment doesn't get too big for him, how he handles it is going to go a long way towards deciding what happens, because with both of these goalies, one goal here, one goal there, that could be the series.
No, it absolutely could be. But then I could argue on the other side, he could be so young and just full of energy that it could be a great little fixture to have there.
Sure,
in the top 6. It's weird with rookies. It's hard to really know going into it, because some will hold their stick just a little bit tighter. Some will be like, let me grab a beer before the game. Get a little loose up. Let's just go do this, boys. It really depends on the personality. But I think, honestly, if you have a situation where Marshy's on a third line, and because we've talked about this for a while, me and you, he's a great complimentary piece to have. Is he a guy that can drive a line anymore? I wouldn't say that, but in a situation where he can you watch his minutes and you get the best version of him, he's still a very effective player.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We've been very happy. He's looked better as he's played with us. This is not an insult, but he's looked really good on the third line.
Yeah.
Third line, killing penalties. He's looked really, really good. And what I like about him is, Lundell, Luosterainen, they're just like defense first. That's it's just like complete tunnel vision. It's like if they score a goal, it's an accident. They apologize. But But with Marchand, he's like, "No, boys, we're going. Let's go. Come on, let's go. I'm going to pass you the puck." And he's setting these kids up. Lundell's got one or two. Luosterainen,
Yeah.
if he could just have 5% more offensive ability, because he has the size and the skill to get himself open, to
Just
have
not the finish.
chance after chance after chance, but he just does he just can't quite finish. Now, in the playoffs last year, he scored some important goals for us. Guys like Rodriguez scored some important goals for us. But you go down Tampa's roster, and it's just like the Water Boys got 20 goals. Okay, they're just stacked.
Yeah.
So, honestly, when you look at it all, it's just going to come down to Game 7, health, and which goalie says no more goals, no goals. Which goalie is going to still have enough in him to say no goals at some point in a Game 7?
100%.
Yeah, to me that.
100%.
But I picked Florida because I'm contractually obligated to pick Florida. So.
I mean, and I picked Florida because I'm not contractually obligated. I just picked them to win the cup this year, so I'm sticking with that pick.
That's I picked them to repeat too, so we're kind of both in the same boat. It's like I can't change it now. And the last thing, this is one stat that I found yesterday. It was on Twitter. There's just people that are worried, the Panthers haven't looked this great, blah, 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 blah. Panthers played 54 games where Tkachuk, Ekblad, and Barkov were all on the ice at the same time. They were 39-15-0 in those games.
Yeah, jeez.
Yeah. Yeah. So if they're healthy and everybody's right, I feel good about it.
Absolutely.
So, all right, we'll cover the Western Conference a little bit. I know we're not as in depth with them, but I say the Kings finally get it done against the Oilers.
It's funny because the Oilers are so dinged up because I'm actually in the middle of making that video for the Western Conference that should be out tomorrow. Yeah, I mean, I would say kind of similarly, if the Oilers are, if the Kings are going to do it, it's going to be this year. It has to be this year. It just does. Yeah. But then it's like, unfortunately for them, they have Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. So there's that ability where the Kings can outplay the Oilers for long stretches, but then because they have such superstars on the Oilers squad,
right,
they can score a bunch of goals in a few minutes. It's just, it's kind of how the ebb and flow work of the Oilers, it seems like at times. But if they're gonna win, it's gonna be this year.
And it's interesting because we probably both would have said that about the Bills in Kansas City last year.
And that's what, we've had this, we had this conversation, was it last stream? It is sort of like that. It is definitely like that. Where it's like, oh, the Bills, the Chiefs aren't the same exact Chiefs. Yeah. And then Chiefs just like little brother, like, sit down. Like, what do you think you are? You're not like, you winning? That's crazy. Right. So I think that's kind of what it comes down to the Oilers. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if the Oilers won. They're 7-3 in their last 10. The Kings are 8-2, both coming in here looking pretty decent.
Right.
But it's, man, with the Kings, you have the talent. Kopitar's still putting up good points. Kemper's played really, really well this year. It's got to be this year, right? It just has to be.
Yeah, it just has to be. So, are we going to have riots in Winnipeg, or are they finally going to win around?
As much as it'd be funny for the memes and like the jokes and all that stuff, Winnipeg just getting outed in the first round, I don't think that's going to happen. I think St. Louis played, it was red hot down the stretch, right? Red hot. They were one of the best teams in the NHL. Now, mind you, I definitely benefited from playing a little bit weaker of a schedule during that run, but they still beat the teams that were in their lineup. They still are in their schedule. They still, beat some playoff teams. But when you play, I think they played Nashville twice or 3 times. It helps. It helps things out.
That helps.
Winnipeg, I think Winnipeg's going to win this. They have Hellebuck. They have the depth scoring. They have the decor. The Jets just signed or extended Pioink to I think a 6-year deal,
like $7 million. Yeah.
Yeah, so they extended him. This will be the year I assume they get out of the first round, but oh my god, dude, I think Winnipeg would burn if they lose to the Blues. I don't know who would survive that.
Yeah, I've been kind of the same thing with the Capitals and Canadians. I've been kind of on the noon streams, couple, Winnipeg fans. I'm like, I think they do it this year. I think they have to do it. It's kind of like with the Kings and the Oilers, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like they have to do it at some point, right? At
Yeah.
some point they have to do it. And, all due respect to the Blues, this is kind of the opportunity for Winnipeg to be like, to get over that hump and then and see how far they can actually go. So
Yeah. I mean, like, you got the best goal, like, arguably the best goaltender on the planet, or, like, top
yeah,
five. And then, I mean, Connor has 97 points. Scheifele had 87. So you have elite production. You have some depth throughout the lineup. Like, when you look at the point per games for the lines 1 through 3, decor is extremely steady. And, it would be a stain on this team's legacy and this core if they don't get out of the first round.
yeah,
It's just
it would not be pleasant.
not.
So, all right. So, what are the other two? Oh, yeah. Vegas and the Wild. Now,
Vegas.
Yeah, to me, of all the series that has the possibility of being a sweep, this is the one, in my opinion.
I think Vegas in 5. I think I think it's a gentleman's sweep.
Yeah,
Vegas is a great team, and they're built for this playoffs.
yeah,
It's extremely good. The Wild, it's
yeah. I mean, they just Wild are in the playoffs because Calgary couldn't get their shit together.
yeah, the Wild, and they had the first seed in the wild card for a while there, and then they was slipping away from them. So it's again, no offense to Wild fans. I have a buddy of mine who's a Wild fan. When I look at the lineup offensively, there's nobody there really that it's like, oh wow, like we're gonna, that's gonna be the difference. Like, I know Kaprizov is a fantastic player, but outside of him, it's like you got Matt Boldy. He's also had a great year. Kind of looking at the stats, let me be a little bit more fair here. Zuccarello, 54 points, 69 games played. You have Marco Rossi with 60 points in 82 games played. I mean, they're not bums.
Sure,
it's just
sure.
You're playing against you're playing against Vegas, and they have Brock Faber too on the back end as a tremendous young D man. Is the goaltending good enough? I mean, Gustafsson, he's had a solid year, 914 save percentage. Marc-Andre Fleury, he's not, he's older, right? I don't think you could rely on him for anything crazy, but when you look at the lineup for the other side with Vegas, it's like you're playing
absurd.
It is, because it's not just the point production, right? Like, Jack Eichel's had the best year of his career, 94 points. You have Tomas Hertl, who's had a great year, 61. Dorofevi, 52. Mark Stone, who can't play a full season, he had 67 points in 66 games played.
Right.
They have just as much depth and they have size. They're the smallest forward is 6 feet tall on the Knights. And their smallest defenseman, 6'2". They play with size, man. They do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the only question mark I'd probably have would be maybe Aiden Hill, but I mean, he's showed the ability to get hot and carry a team to a playoffs.
When did he do that?
Well, not carry. I mean, he was on a great team, but you know what I'm saying. Like, he went on a good run.
Who?
Hater.
What? I think
he beat that no state income tax state, right? It was the battle of
They beat the Lightning. Hill won a cup against the Lightning. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, we'll just say that. We'll say that.
Oh, and then what's the series we've left out?
We have 2. We got to talk about. Oh, Dallas. No. So 1. Sorry, Dallas versus Colorado.
Yeah. The short of it is they should just have a day, and the early game is just one game between Florida and Tampa, and then the night game is just the one game between Dallas and Colorado. Save everybody the trouble.
It's weird, right? Because I would say my second favorite team growing up was the Colorado Avalanche, because when they traded Ray Bourque to the Avs, I became an Avs fan because I followed him for that stretch.
Gotcha.
Now it's kind of weird. It's between Colorado and Florida, just because I like the players in Florida, how they play. But anyways, Dallas, I don't think it's crazy to say depth-wise up front is the deepest team in the NHL. I mean, with some of the additions they made with Rantanen, and then they brought in Granlund, they just have so much secondary scoring. That's what makes them difficult to play against. And then they have a pretty steady decor as well. And they have the goaltender in Jake Ottinger.
Right.
Colorado has the superstar power, though. I mean, Landeskog, that's a good story. I mean, you see him play with the Colorado Eagles, after being away from the game for 3 years. I think that's an amazing story. Maybe we could see him. Charlie Coyle has been very effective for the Avalanche. But when you have Nate McKinnon, Natchez, you got some star talent over there. I think secondary scoring in 1 through 4, I give the edge to Dallas up front.
Right.
On the back end, I mean, I like the top 4 defensemen for the Avalanche. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of their third pairing, but, Ryan Lindgren can be serviceable enough. And, their goaltender is going to be Blackwood. Blackwood's had a great year for the Avalanche after getting dealt from the San Jose Sharks, the pit that is known in San Jose. I think it will be a tight series. I've been waffling back and forth on this, so I might even change in my Western Conference prediction video because I still got to record that. And I'm going to say right now, I think I'll say Dallas. I think Dallas.
That's where I've been leaning to. I think I've mentioned this, so I won't go off on too much of a tangent. But when Rantanen got traded to Carolina, I knew he was coming back to the Western Conference and causing Colorado a problem in the postseason. You could just see the writing on the wall, and I thought it was going to be Vegas because that's what Vegas does. Is they just add. But when they went to Dallas, I'm like, oh, okay, I guess that's going to be in the first round. So for that reason alone, I feel like Dallas is going to win. And Otter, too. Blackwood, like you said, he's had a great year. New team, new system. Playoffs are a different animal. I think Otter's comfortable with his team. And I think, like I said with Bob and Vasilevsky, one goal with these tight teams, that can make all the difference in the world. And both teams now, Colorado, and one thing with them is they can bury you.
Oh yeah,
right.
They can. It's similar to the Oilers in that way. Like they can score a ton real quick.
Yeah, they can bury you. So what Dallas needs to do is whenever game Colorado inevitably wins 7-3, Dallas just needs to come back the next game with a 2-1 and get things even up. They can't let it get too far away from them.
No.
So I think for the most part, we've agreed, except I'm the dumbass that's picking Montreal.
Well, watch you be right, though. And then I'm the dumbass. It's like, you couldn't see that. You couldn't see that, Paul. That's how predictions work. It's funny, man. I'll say this because I know you got to get going here soon. I overslept. My alarm didn't go off, so we're recording this a little bit later. But
are you sure you weren't just in bed depressed because you shaved the beard?
Fuck, you caught me. You got me. Hold on. I said I wasn't gonna cry on stream. It's funny though. I will notice this. I don't know if you see these prediction videos. Like people will comment after the series. You idiot! You got it wrong. It's just kind of funny. I like that. I like seeing those comments.
Yeah, I have a video on my channel. I think I did it this summer. I went back to the original Kachuk trade video. Mm-hmm. And I went on not just on my channel, but like Hockey Guy, a few other bigger creators. And I just went to the comment section and seen what people's takes were on the Kachuk trade then and, how it played out now. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, the number of Florida got fleeced. What the hell is Zito doing? He just ruined the team. I mean, there was plenty of that. And then the fun part is there's people that come back, after they won the cup. It was like, how we looking now? How did that trade work out for us now? So, the comment section, it's always, that's like I said with my series preview with Florida and Tampa, I got called out by a guy. What did he say? He said it was disrespectful that I insinuated. I didn't say they were doing it. I said it's kind of like the defensemen were sitting back and saying, leave him open, let him get his goals. And if you watch some of the highlights, I mean, the defensemen are 5-6 feet away from him.
Yeah.
on a lot of his goals, setting up. I mean, they're just completely ignoring him. Like I
Yeah.
watched at least a half dozen to maybe 10 goals out of his first 20, where Washington's just entering this. The whole team is in the center and off to the right, and the whole defensive structure goes over there, and like Ovi's just like sneaking in right behind everybody. Nobody's paying attention, and then the
Yeah.
pass inevitably goes to him, and there's just nobody around him. And I'm
Yeah.
like, that's not gonna happen in the play. It better not happen in the playoffs, of course. But to your point with Montreal, maybe
Yeah.
right? They're not a
Yeah.
team that's gonna know how to play playoff hockey.
Yeah.
So that could still happen in the first round for
100%.
sure. So
100%.
in the end, we have to finish this with cup predictions because we can't we got to do it before the playoffs start.
Mm-hmm.
I will fall on the sword and tell you what mine was.
Okay.
Originally, at the beginning of the year, I had Florida repeating against Nashville.
Pray.
So I'll take. I mean, half right can still be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got to pick from the field now.
If I was going to pick from the field now, Vegas. I could see a Panthers Vegas rematch, and much like my pick against the Panthers with Tampa,
Yeah.
contractually obligated to say Florida would win that series.
It'll be interesting for me because I picked Florida to repeat because I liked how, for the most part, they kept the team together. Some guys left, yeah, but
Yeah.
most part. I had, oh God, who did I have actually? I think I actually had I think I might have had Dallas going into it, but
Yeah,
I think for me that's actually where I'll stick with it. I think
sure.
Dallas has the depth, the scoring. I think the Florida Panthers with Matthew Tkachuk, even if he's 80% of himself,
Yeah.
that should be a really fun series. But I think Vegas is a good pick too. I mean, listen, it's the only. I think the Western Conference is deeper this year, and if Florida doesn't come out, I'm not too sure if an Eastern Conference team will beat a Western Conference team. But yeah,
I think Tampa. I think that first round series between Tampa and Florida is the Eastern Conference Finals, just in the first round. That's how I see
yeah,
it.
I'm not really mad at that take. No, I mean,
I mean, the only other team that, in my opinion, is going to be able to beat Tampa the way that they're playing right now is maybe Washington. Maybe.
all millions of Leaf fans scream in the distance in rage.
Hey, they got to prove it.
Yeah, yeah,
Toronto has to prove it first. And I know that they beat Tampa, but that was a different Tampa team,
yeah,
right? That was Stamkos, and I think Sergachev was still there at that point.
yeah. I
Yeah,
believe so.
yeah,
And plus they were on a transition period at that point.
right. And Vasilevsky was, I mean, he had the back so,
Yeah,
no, Tampa would be my pick if Florida doesn't make it. And could Tampa beat Vegas?
possibly.
It's all gonna, when you
Yeah,
get to that point, it is really genuinely about health,
yeah.
right?
Who's
I mean,
healthy?
when Florida played Vegas, Ekblad had a broken foot and a torn labrum. Montour had a torn labrum. Luciano was out with a broken foot. We know what happened to Chucky. And
Yeah,
we had like a half dozen guys that would have been out for the season if it was a regular season. That was what Maurice basically, like, he opened up that press conference. It wasn't like we battled hard, blah, blah, blah. His first words were, so I got this guy with a broken foot and we got two guys with torn labrums. Like, his first thing that he
yeah,
said was just listing off the injuries. And Vegas still might have beat us, right?
yeah,
But it might have gone 7 if we were healthy,
yeah,
And so, yeah, when you get to that point, especially when you're playing a big team like Vegas, right? It's about your health. How healthy are you? What's your body part situation? Because guys can be like, I mean, Ekblad was playing with a broken foot and a torn labrum. Montour was playing with a torn labrum. We didn't know.
No.
It wasn't day to day. It wasn't game time decisions. They were just out there playing with injuries that needed surgery.
I mean, listen, hockey players are warriors, man. They really are. They'll play with a bunch of injuries. I know as a Bruins fan, I've seen Patrice Bergeron play with like puncture lungs and like broken ribs. Like hockey players are just a different breed.
Yeah. Well, I've told this story before, but I saw an interview maybe it was last year, about Kachuk with the broken sternum. And the plan was, this is per Chucky and Maurice, the plan was to get Chucky some rest, get the series to game 7, and then he could play game 7. With a broken sternum.
What a wild man.
What?
Bro.
How? The dude couldn't put on his own shirt, and we're just going to give it some rest. Just rest. It'll be fine.
That's really funny. That's really funny.
Crazy.
Yeah,
so
it's borderline insane.
Yeah, no, right. I stub my toe. I sit down, put the heating pad on for an hour just because I want the excuse to sit down. Oh, my toe hurts. Oh, my tummy hurts. Oh, I think I got a headache. I don't know. I think maybe. I don't know. Let me sit down and relax. You'll understand. What are you, like 15 years younger than me?
Yeah, I'm like 33.
Holy shit, you're 20 years younger than me.
Oh, shit.
Jesus Christ.
I know.
33. You could probably still do jumping jacks and shit, can't you?
I mean, remember, I broke my hip on the boat, so like I can still do them, but like, man, when I get older, my body's I'm gonna have a cane. I'll rock that shit. I'll get a mobility scooter, go to Walmart, really fit in with the creatures.
I was a 4-sport athlete and a bodybuilder, and you're talking about like late 80s, early 90s bodybuilding. You're talking about like stupid shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, listen, I just started skating again because I finally got cleared a little bit ago. But yeah, listen, I really do. I love playoff hockey, and I think it's the best playoffs in all of sports because it's just such a different physicality, and the players are willing to make like massive sacrifices in comparison to other sports where maybe they don't play through a broken sternum. Other sports, they friggin' separate their pinky toe and they're out for the year.
Oh, geez, in football, can you imagine if any of these guys like lost teeth in the middle of a football game? They'd air vac them to the freaking hospital, and they'd be giving us updates. He's at the hospital, he's stable, and he's fine. In hockey, dude's like, hold on a second. Somebody pick up my teeth. All right, let's go. My next shift. It's just a different planet out there.
100%.
So I was not made to be a hockey player. I wasn't even made to be a football player. Yeah.
I played hockey. Actually, it's funny because I have a couple of teeth I had to get replaced in the back. It's like a puck to the mouth, but but yeah, man, it's a fun sport. But I think this was a fun show. We got all our predictions in. Even though I was a half hour late, we still were able to get it done before.
That's okay. That's the thing about being self-employed. There's always something I can go. I'll go do this. I'll go do that. So it worked out. All right, everybody. That is going to do it for episode 2 of the world famous best hockey podcast west of the equator, Puck Blockers. Yeah, I get them every time with that. I'm still waiting for somebody to not figure it out and leave a comment. There really is no west of the. Don't tell anybody. We want to see if we can get any suckers with that. Right?
And that's why we're the best of that, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's quite literally, there's nothing but us west of the equator. There's nothing. Right. Yeah. We're not even the best hockey podcast, the best podcast, period, west of the equator. It's perfect.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you all for all the new subscribers. We have a good time. We're trying to do these a little bit more often. Unfortunately, Paul's been busy with his OnlyFans schedule. That's why he had to shave. That's the true story.
Yo, you are wild, bro. That's crazy.
He started getting complaints. It's like, hey, man, the beard's looking a little bit greasy. I don't know if I can keep tipping you.
Wild.
And so shave the beard, and he's good to go.
I wish, dude. I wish I was like some of those only like sell my ass for $1. I don't think anyone's paying. I don't think anyone's paying for this, right? So I don't.
Should have bagged up the beard hair and sold it on eBay.
Just imagine. Here's my here's the locker room special. Do you want a piece of Captain Paul's beard? Make sure to subscribe.
Hey, if I can sell a cereal box on eBay for $56, you can sell beard hair, right?
Oh my
So,
god.
yep. All right, everybody. We appreciate all the support, and we'll see you in the next one.